Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Heart for the Community Initiative. We are dealing with part two of our discussion about human trafficking, awareness, and prevention. There was so much interactivity and feedback and questions and comments from the first discussion we had, which was just about 6 weeks ago, that we decided to come back. Now, I want you to know that Heart for the Community, in conjunction with the Central Virginia Justice Initiative, we are represented today by Miss Michele Trampe, who is the executive director. We're partnering with them, also with Amped Up Studios, represented by Mr. Andre Powell. We're going to do a community event on July 22nd. More information is coming. Don't worry about it. You'll have plenty of time. But the reason why we're coming here now because we don't want that July 22nd event to just sneak up on you. We want you to know what we're doing. Human trafficking is an issue, and believe it or not, it is an issue in the Rappahannock region. For those of you who don't know what the Rappahannock region is, there's several counties in the northern part of Virginia: Stafford County, Fredericksburg, Caroline County, a few others that I can't remember, but these two guests will let you know. There's some specific things going on with human trafficking in our region, but no matter where you are watching from, there is human trafficking where you are. So we want to make sure that you have a great understanding of what human trafficking is. That is the awareness piece. What does it look like? What does it involve? And if we are armed with information, we can be part of the team. And everybody should want to be a team member when it comes to the prevention and awareness of human trafficking. We want to be part of the team that can help prevent it, that can help bring somebody into safety or provide safe haven for somebody who's trying to get away from it, or just to be a sounding board, a safe place for someone who may be struggling in that area. So, with no further ado, we have two tremendous guests with us today. As I said before, Mr. Andre Powell, who pulls double duty. He is the creative director for Amped Up Studios, but he is also the social media director for Heart for the Community Initiative. So we thank God for him and his time. Believe me, this is a busy man, busy man. He's daddy, he's husband, he's minister, he is mogul and entrepreneur. Yeah, I said it. So we thank God for him. And Michele Trampe, man, listen, this is a treasure, not only for Central Virginia Justice Initiative, but she is a treasure to the body of Christ, to her family, to her community. And we thank God for all of the tremendous work that Michele Trampe is doing as the executive director of Central Virginia Justice Initiative, which deals directly with human trafficking. And there's so much that these two panel members can bring out to us that is just mind blowing. So I'm going to ask you, those of you who are in the live audience now, and even those of you who are catching this in the playback, please begin to share the broadcast with those that you know and tag your family and friends. Let them know the Heart for the Community Initiative is live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All right. Let somebody know where they can find us. So I want to start with you, Michele, and just get you to give the audience an overview of just what human trafficking is. So for
Sure.
those who are not a part of the first conversation, they can have an understanding of what it is.
Okay. Human trafficking, sometimes also known as trafficking in persons, involves compelling or coercing another person to provide labor or services or to engage in commercial sex acts through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. And I'm using the terminology that's really the federal terminology, force, fraud, or coercion. That's from the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 and its subsequent reauthorizations. Now, that applies to people who are not minors. If someone is a minor and they are engaged in commercial sex, there's no need for them to demonstrate force, fraud, or coercion for human trafficking to have occurred. So any minor who's engaged in commercial sex, automatic. Someone who's being trafficked under the federal definition. State definition's a little different. They use the terminology, I think it's force, intimidation, and deception. So a little different, but generally you can think of it the same way. um, the that's basically the basic definition. It does happen here in the Rappahannock region. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
In terms of the Rappahannock region, you're talking about Stafford County, Fredericksburg City, Spotsylvania County, Caroline County, and King George. Our organization focuses in that area. However, we will go other places that where there aren't other organizations. So we're not going to say no if there's someone that we can help in another part of the Central Virginia area. Richmond has a lot of resources. So if somebody is in the Richmond area, there are a lot of resources, but if you go out to Greene County and some of the other counties, there just aren't a lot. So we don't say no if there's no one closer.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Mr. Andre Powell, welcome in again. I want you to tell us how is Amped Up Studios involved in human trafficking when it comes to awareness and prevention? What are you guys doing?
Good evening, everyone. So, Amped Up Studios got involved because there is an organization that is near to and dear to our heart called Journey to Destiny Ministries. And as part of that, we saw a need with the organization to be more broadly or enhance their reach. And so, as a means of that, we got involved. It was a pull on our hearts to really get out there and change something that was going on. And human trafficking fell right in the realm of what this organization was focused on. They are in four countries right now, moving to five very soon. And so, we had the opportunity to go down and film at one of their journey centers. And so part of what we do is we create a number of videos and different graphics to one, bring awareness to what's going on. We actually are currently working on a small I would say docu series that is encompassing some of the victims that have been rescued at this point and how they're living out their lives during this time in Dominican Republic. And so our goal is ultimately to hit all of where the journey centers are located and continue to share the good news of Christ, as well as making sure that others can get involved with this opportunity.
Hey, man, thank you for that. And Michelle, if you don't mind, if you can tell us just what Central Virginia Justice Initiative is doing in the way of human trafficking awareness and prevention.
Okay, besides assisting human trafficking clients, and we head up the task force in the region. We raise awareness by putting on individual prevention or awareness events. So over the years, we've had a number of specific awareness events where we've either teamed with other organizations or we put them on ourselves. And some of those events were both related to awareness of commercial sex trafficking, but also labor trafficking, which we hear more about commercial sex trafficking, but there certainly is labor trafficking that happens in the United States. And so, we try to explain what the lures, the tricks traffickers use, and what trafficking looks like. And we specifically will work with organizations who maybe are in a better position to see human trafficking. So we will go to Rappahannock Council Against Sexual Assault. They do training periodically with their volunteers and their staff. And so we will come and we'll do a segment of their training on human trafficking. We'll do the same thing with Empower House. We have both of those scheduled coming out in the next month or two. We've also been to healthcare workers, so different healthcare venues. And so, so it's not just a general awareness with the public, but it's also targeting those organizations that are, um, are more likely to see a human trafficking victim than, say, the average person on the street.
All right. I want to ask this question, and either one of you can answer it. Specifically, when it comes to the Rappahannock region, what does human trafficking look like in our region? There are many people who are going to be tuned in, especially because we're going to be doing this event on July 22nd right here in the region. What are some specific things that we see in our region, and what are some specific things that we can be doing to help bring awareness and prevention to the problem? And either one of you can answer that if you like.
Well, I'll start and then I'll pass it on to Andre. What we see most often, or what we've dealt with most often, are commercial sex trafficking victims. And in fact, in this region, there have been some very, very large cases over the years. So, for example, there was one person he was from Fredericksburg. He had a 7-state human trafficking operation that targeted predominantly women, but there might have been some minors too, who had addictions, predominantly addictions um, to heroin. I think was the big was the drug of choice, I would say. And when I think it was Stafford County who actually was the organization, or actually ran a sting operation, and one of this person's victims talked. And so they were able to work with federal authorities and other jurisdictions to bring down this very large organization. Now, when they went to start to provide services to these victims, they stopped counting at 55 women and girls that were his victims because they ran out of resources. They believed that it was a much, much larger, many more victims than they actually had identified. And one of those, one of his victims, actually, he had directed one of his co-conspirators to give her a fentanyl patch, which OD'd her, and she passed away. Yeah, he and his co-conspirators went to jail. Took a number of years to actually work everything through the court system, but he's going to be a very, very old man when he gets out of jail. But there have been other large cases in this area. When I've talked to law enforcement, and based on what we can tell by the victims that we work with, when you're talking about commercial sex trafficking, there's, you're really talking about a lot of the drug dealers who maybe human trafficking is a sideline, but also gangs. So those are two of the big areas. But you also do see some of the individual pimps who are trafficking. So,
Wow. And I would imagine that not a lot of people probably know that those type of things are happening right here in our region. So I thank you for that information.
yeah, I mean, I think there was a when Stafford, broke up this ring. There might have been one newspaper article that I could find on it. So when it happens, it doesn't necessarily always get a lot of press attention. It also depends on how the press really talks about it. So this was a human trafficking case, but a lot of times the press will use terms like sex work or prostitution. And so sometimes the way that it's discussed I can read a newspaper article and I can say, well, that sounds like human trafficking to me,
Right.
because of force, fraud, coercion, the age of the victims, the circumstances, that sort of thing. But if the press isn't using that terminology, a lot of times, people aren't gonna, aren't looking at it that way. And unfortunately, in our society, um, and there are a number of reasons for it. So I'm not going to try to overly judge it, but a lot of times, when someone uses the term prostitution or sex work, there's the automatic presumption that, um, this is a choice, and that, in some cases they may think it's pretty womanish, or
Oh,
something
wow.
like that. Um, I've been on campuses, and I've had discussions with, with particularly young people, because of maybe some of the thing that comes through media, and what they're seeing on social media and that sort of thing. And there really is I think a difference between what reality is and what, um, again, if you use prostitution, sex work, it doesn't matter. But I think there's a real difference between what reality is and what, the vast majority of the public thinks.
Right. It's amazing to me that in this country, especially with our history when it comes to slavery in general, human trafficking really amounts to, human slavery, modern day slavery. I'm
Yep.
really shocked that our media hasn't jumped all over it. Americans are known for being very generous and compassionate to people who are hurting. I'm not sure what the barriers are, whether they are legal or political or whatever, but it's shocking to me that we don't hear more about it.
I think it's a lack of understanding. I think it's also in competition with so many other things that are going on. And you know um, and so I think it's, we've got a 24-hour news cycle, and it's moving from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And a lot of times these cases don't get talked about, or at the beginning of a case, law enforcement maybe have made some arrest, but it may take a while to build that human trafficking case. And so by the time it goes to court and works its way through the system, a lot of times, unless there are big press releases or things like that, it just may not get the attention. And if it's competing with something else going on, you know, that's going on in the world or in the United States, it just may not get the attention. So,
It's
So
amazing.
one of the things I've seen in my research and just kind of listening to stories and so forth, when it comes to human trafficking, it is one of those that it's like that hush story, if you will. There is enough of other things going on that it's used as a smokescreen, right? The only time it really comes up to the surface, or it's spoken to people, is if something big is done. But it's or and that's even if it's a big ring or a big bust, or if they haven't focused on some other drug thing within that bust. um, it's one of those that, let's be honest, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so even across the United States, it isn't as uncovered, if you will, as it could be when they're I mean, let's be honest. When it comes to some of the things that are discussed or are put in mainstream or in front of people as an epidemic or things that need to be taken care of, we still see it's still flooding the news. But what really is being done? There are a lot of organizations that jump into certain things, like and for example, the fentanyl epidemic. People are overdosing almost daily on this stuff. It gets relatively a lot of news coverage, and there's still a whole lot that needs to be done with it. Human trafficking doesn't get that news coverage at all in that sense, unless there is a huge thing that they can't pin some other major agendaed hat to, if you will. And so I think that's one of the challenges that we as Amped Up Studios is just trying to bring that awareness to people, put it in front of people's faces, make it so that you turn on the channel and you see a video that has been produced in regards to it, or you go on to social media where there are victims that are being plagued every single day over things as little, excuse me, as an argument that was started with family members. They're finding a need, or the the traffickers are trying to find and fill a need because they have money to be made. And so for us, that prevention comes in, hey, making sure, one, that we are taking care of our friends and our family members, and being okay with having some of those tough conversations rather than pushing them under the rug. And so as a whole, the more we can get the thoughts out there, the more we can get the numbers out there. Some people like statistics. Some people see, oh, my I could I don't see my daughter being in it, but someone like my daughter, what if a bad situation found our family in this? And that's also one of the tricks as well, that sometimes from an international scene, it is the family that is the most involved with why somebody has found themselves in this situation. And so it is just one of those conversations that needs to be had often.
Yeah.
How do we do it other than what we're doing here tonight? And I love what we're doing. This conversation is bringing awareness, right? But once we say goodbye to our audience tonight, and we get out of the live conversation, of course, we're going to do the best we can to influence our audience members to share the video, and we'll do a little Facebook ad and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, and of course, we're doing that event on July 22nd here in Stafford. How do we keep the conversation going? Is there a way to get the press involved? Is there a way to get the church involved? Is there a way to get influential people involved? Is there a way to get politicians involved? How do we make this a front page issue, and how do we keep it a front page issue?
Well, it's a good question. I think there's probably a couple of things that I probably just suggest. Um, I think there is a great place for the church here. We are a Christian faith-based organization, and um, boy, there's just a tremendous need out there, and the church, has historically, um, had a place with it, in supporting the community. Many times when there wasn't, when no one else was.
Yes.
um, and so I think there's a great place for the church. One of the things that in terms of, we've gone and we've spoken to a lot of churches, and when and I think there's sometimes, what we've noticed is that sometimes churches kind of think that within a denomination or even within a church, they want to do their thing. And I kind of think when we get to heaven, that's where the church is, and where it's not denominational, it's Christ Church. And so I think I would love to see more churches do things across denominations and across churches, to be able to not just raise awareness about human trafficking, but also minister to those in need. Because there's really two pieces of this. I kind of think of the supply and the demand. And so I originally had a business background in undergraduate school. And so, I think of supply and demand. And so on the supply side, you don't have supply without demand. And so it's not just raising awareness about human trafficking and prevention. focusing on the supply side, you've got to also talk to people about that demand side, because there are people and that are out there who are buying people who are trafficked. And it is hard for me to believe that they don't understand in every case, or in most cases, that um, there's something wrong, right? So um, there's um, so I think there's a, in terms of the demand side, um, it's not just commercial sex, but it's pornography. It is, people who are engaged in labor trafficking, who know what they're doing is wrong. They're not paying someone. They're not treating them properly. And we've had labor laws in this country for a long, long time. So I think there needs to be a focus on the demand side, not just prosecution, but awareness, so that we shine a light on those, and those who are engaged in that. And then on the supply side, of course, the raising awareness and that sort of thing. But I think the church has a big place to play. I think from a um, perspective of our legislature, I think that we've done a lot in Virginia over the years to raise awareness with regard to our legislation and legislature in
That's all
Richmond.
right. We know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, so we've done a lot. And there are bills that are discussed, some passage every year, but it's slow. And I think some of that is that, we have elections every other year. Well, actually, every year we vote on somebody in Virginia, but in terms of Richmond, you're talking about every other year between the House of Delegates and the state Senate. And so you do have people cycling through, because you have people who lose elections. We've had a big redistricting, so you have some districts who will have new either delegates or state senators, and so it's continually working with them to try to raise the level of understanding. When you talk to people in Richmond about trafficking of kids, you really get their attention. When you start talk about trafficking with somebody who's, you know, um, 18 years old, and maybe one day, or 18 years old, just turned 18 years old, they're they don't there seems to be less of a view of urgency.
I
And we're
want to
starting
ask for a moment.
to that.
Now, we have with us in our audience a member of our state legislature. God bless you, Delegate Candy King. Thank you for being a part of the audience. And I'm going to give you time to answer this question while I go to Andre. Delegate King, if you don't mind, we're asking the question, how in the world do we get human trafficking to be front page news to get there and then to keep it there? We know that part of the answer is partnering with our friends in the political scene, our elected officials like you. But Andre, from where you're sitting with Amped Up Studios, what do you think? How in the world do we make this an issue and keep it an issue? Because it is an important issue.
We have to be in front of the people all the time, telling them. I know one of the things, as Michelle mentioned, the church has an opportunity now to stand united for the bloodstained banner. First off, giving people, sharing that hope, and that hope makes all the difference in the world. If people have hope, they're less likely to fall in some of the traps. And so that means, one, being able to get out there to the people, putting in the front pages means, hey, bugging the legislature, but bugging the executive branch, sending letters, sending videos, showing them what's actually going on. Um, from my standpoint, or from just some of the experiences that we've had even this year, we heard it, right? We've heard it said time and time again, oh, that it's a bad thing, that it's a disturbing situation. just, understand that and be okay with it. But when I tell you, seeing it firsthand, being in some of the homes of some of the victims after the facts, hearing some of their stories, it is heart wrenching to one, see how they're living, how they're coming out, what happened, how did they get into the situation, and hearing, how people like their family members were either involved, or hearing how, well, they were interested in something else, something, a need wasn't being met, they were pulled into something that they thought was innocent, and it turned out to be something totally different. I recently was talking to a woman who, one of her neighbors' kid found themselves in a situation that they should not have been in, all because they wanted an iPhone. An iPhone, something as simple as that. Parents said, no, you can't have an iPhone. But on social media, found a person that was just took interest in them. And from there, it led down a rabbit hole of them being moved from three different states in the matter of 3 weeks, and finally being caught in one state as they were about to be moved again to somewhere else, internationally. So just knowing that sometimes it's having conversations, showing the importance of your family, really diving in, if you will. It gives that opportunity just to know what's going on in our kids' heads and our family members' heads. If there are family members that have addictions, get help. Get help. Find resources for us, along with putting it in front of people. Now, let's be honest. I did mention that this was a $1 billion industry, and there are a lot of people in this United States that we are involved in that are in high places that are doing the same thing, that drive that demand. I mean, the Super Bowl in itself is one of those arenas where there's a lot of stuff going on, and it was brought out. I remember there was a small commercial probably 2 or 3 years ago, focused around some of these big places where people are either taken or kind of lured away, or they find themselves in a situation where they hadn't planned on it originally, and it was brought to light. But since then, there hasn't been a whole lot of anything with regards to main stages. So being in front of people, being in these World Series games, these national championships, where the people are looking, entertainment is hot, and people in entertainment are finding themselves in very dark situations, in some cases. And I'm not saying this is a blanket statement for everything. No, there are situations that happen where people find themselves, based off of need, find themselves in a situation that wasn't expected, and from there, it is a rabbit hole that they are hoping or wishing that somebody would take the time to really look for them. Uh, um, a politician would stand on, say, hey, we need to get them back, right? It's and we're gonna stop that. We're gonna stop that.
I get it. Princess is one of our audience members, and I want people to know Princess is not in front of the camera person per se. She does a lot of things for a lot of people behind the scenes. And we asked the question, what can we do? Princess gave us a plethora of answers. Listen to what she said. There are several things. Pray, first and foremost. Seek out organizations already working against human trafficking, right? You got two organizations represented right now, actually three. Heart for the Community Initiative was hosting this talk. Amped Up Studios, represented by Mr. Andre Powell, excuse me, and Central Virginia Justice Initiative was represented by Miss Michele Trampe. So you got three organizations right here who are trying our best to help put together survivors kits. And I'm going to ask you guys about that because that may not mean anything to some people, but you guys know. Host an awareness event. We're doing it at Heart for the Community Initiative. Follow us. We're going to give you some information about our event on July 22nd of this year. Invest in youth events because human traffickers do target youth. Write press releases. Partner with local youth groups. Make it a grassroots movement. I thank you, Princess Frenchie, because you are hitting the nail on the head. Now, I'm supposing that Delegate Candy King is probably somewhere typing ferociously because I know she want to get in. So we're going to wait for her response. But Michelle, can you help us to understand what a survival kit is? I think that's what she said. And
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, we put together backpacks, and we've given them to law enforcement. So Stafford and Spotsylvania have these backpacks. Although I think I need to give more to Spotsylvania, and I have some ready for the other jurisdictions. But they're backpacks, and they've got a change of clothing. So um, um, they may have we usually, pair of like sweatpants or stretchy pants that are comfortable, t-shirts, um, undergarments, toiletries. We have little jackets that sweatshirts that we put in there, a pair of flip-flops, because you'd be surprised the number of times that um, they don't have shoes. It's just, um, and so toiletries, we put information in the backpack about us, resources, things like that. We have a little journal because sometimes it's helpful for them to journal. A little flashlight. It's a number of other things. We're very careful about what goes in it because sometimes we've talked about drug addiction, but sometimes these folks have mental health issues as well. Beyond the complex trauma that they've experienced, they may have started out life with mental health issues, and so with all that they've gone through, sometimes they are suicidal, and so we make sure that there's nothing in there that they can use to harm themselves. And so we also make sure that the clothing isn't aren't gang colors, so that if they're on the street again, that they don't get seen as potentially being in a particular gang. And so we put a lot of thought into the backpacks. And so we offer these backpacks. We give them to law enforcement so that if they have someone who may have been trafficked, or anyone who may be engaged in prostitution or sex work, whatever word you want to use, that they can give them that backpack to help them, but also it has our information. We've given them out as well. For someone who may contact us. We are part of the Planning District 16 Human Trafficking Task Force. And so the great thing there is a lot of the nonprofits in the area, as well as law enforcement, sit on that task force. We also have the schools involved in that task force, or at least Spotsylvania and I think it was King George. Are the ones who are currently have been involved. And so they'll contact us if they think that there's someone that's been trafficked. So we will give them that backpack, because a lot of times trafficking victims won't immediately they won't immediately accept help, and there are a number of reasons for that. For most of these people, the systems as they exist or have existed through their lives haven't worked well for them. So, for example, if you've got someone who is a young person who's been in and out of foster care, maybe has been in and out of the legal system, it's rare for us to have a victim who didn't have some sort of upbringing that put them at risk. And so the systems that were out there that were supposed to protect them haven't worked well for them. They've fallen through the cracks. And so why should they trust me, right? Why should they trust me? And so if you go into this thinking that, these are just people who are going to, who are, who are rescued and grateful for your help, they're not going to trust you immediately. And why should they? Why should they? And
And it's heartbreaking. This
so
is so heartbreaking.
sometimes these backpacks, we'll give them the backpacks, they'll take them. They don't have to do anything, right? Um, they can just take the backpacks and that's it. We don't ask anything from them. We offer services. If they don't want them, then that's it. But generally in their lifetime, many of these victims that we've dealt with, um, they have had to um, give something to get something.
Mm.
So we don't want to be like that, right? So we're trying to change their understanding. And so sometimes that backpack is important because it's the one thing that they can take. Didn't cost them anything. They can walk away. They don't have to contact us again. But what we've seen happen is that they'll take the backpack. We may not hear from them for some time, but maybe they'll give us a call when they need something else.
Yeah, Princess just put something up here that's is pricking my heart. Sometimes these dear souls don't even see themselves as
No,
victims.
they
And I
don't.
must tell you, Michelle and Andre, as you're talking about some of these horrors when it comes to human trafficking, if we're not careful, we'll throw our hands up and say, "What in the world can we do?" It seems like there is so much work that needs to be done. And I go back to another comment that Princess made. The amount of things that we could do. Those of us who are people of faith, pray, seek out organizations already working against human trafficking. And I'm going to ask you to, is there a place where people can go to see a list of organizations in their particular areas that are dealing with human trafficking so that they can begin to make contact and link up? And if nothing else, donate money because these survival packs and all the other resources that are offered to these people who are suffering human trafficking, they cost money. Put together a survivor's kit, host an awareness event, invest in youth events. Is there a list? Write a press release, partner with local youth groups, make it a grassroots movement. I mean, these are great things. But for the average person who's going to come in to watch this interview, in layman's terms, Andre, how do you connect? How do we plug in to an organization? How do we plug into a movement? How do we do it?
So I would say, for me, I'm always on the internet, and so for me, it's finding what is local to you. Mine just so happened to fall in my church. My church was there, and they had been doing a number of things with Journey to Destiny. They got really involved, and I got really involved as well from that, and it just became a snowball effect. If there's truly a desire to help and assist, you'll find what you need, right? There are lists. I don't have one particularly pulled up, but there are a number of organizations that are out here doing something, right? And for us, it's a matter of getting started. That drive to make a change, make a difference. And if you want to see change happen, you will take that first step and either join one of the groups here, one of the organizations here that is actively participating in getting the word out, sharing with others, bringing awareness, bringing prevention opportunities. Get involved immediately. Like, why wait? If you are ready to get involved, find something that is either local to you where you can get your boots on the ground, or make sure that you just get involved even with one of the organizations here. That's at least the starting point. From there, it's going to open up. I tell you, it has definitely opened up for us. We thought we're going to get involved with this one organization, and that would be it. And so, just starting there has pricked a passion project like no other.
Andre, if you would put the contact information for Amped Up Studios in the chat. Right now, audience, up on the screen, I have the information to contact Heart for the Community Initiatives webpage. And if you're in our audience, if you could get that link, and you can go right to our events page, and it talks about the upcoming event that we have on July 22nd. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now is some information on how you can contact Heart for the Community Initiative. If you want to ask questions, if you want to get involved, if you want to make a donation, if you want to earmark your donation for human trafficking awareness, please do so. We will receive it. And Heart for the Community Initiative is a 501c3. I'm also going to put the information up there for Central Virginia Justice Initiative. Princess has provided us with their Facebook page. So Andre just said, you got to go somewhere, right? So you can get the information to at least begin the conversation. And I'm about to post the information that Brother Andre Powell has posted. Listen, we want you to get involved in any way possible. Believe me when I tell you that we are not competing when it comes to Central Virginia Justice Initiative, Heart for the Community Initiative, and Amped Up Studios. There is no competition amongst us. We are working on the same team for the same goal, which is to bring awareness and prevention to human trafficking anywhere you are. So I know that we're dealing with some things in the Rappahannock region here in Virginia, but there are many people who are going to see this broadcast that are outside of this area. And we want you to connect wherever you are. Connect wherever you are. Be an active part. Don't just sit on the side and be an observer, please. Don't you know through your donation, through your action, a life could be saved? Uh, this is, in a way, it's heartbreaking. And in a way, it shows us so many opportunities that we can get help. And thank you, Brother Andre. He's provided us some more information. I'm going to put that information on your screen. Did we miss anything, Sister Michelle?
In terms of communication, the only thing I would also say is depending upon who's seeing this in because I know this is going out. Um, the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, which you can just Google that. They tend to have a list of different service providers in the country too. So that's another organization. They run the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, which is a 24/7 hotline, and they have a list as well. They also do some very good studies across the country on different types of human trafficking. So they're a good resource in terms of, if you want to learn more about, different types of human trafficking in the country.
Folks, I tell you, human trafficking is a dirty, nasty business. And we have to be careful. Don't get into the habit of saying that it's them, because it could be you, it could be me, it could be your son or your daughter, it could be my son or my daughter, my niece or my nephew, my sister or my brother, and we have to look at this. And please don't wait until one of your family members has been snatched or forced into this awful, awful life. If you have something to offer by way of credentials, abilities, skills, financial donations, anything that you have to offer, we will accept. Once again, I'm going to give you some information scrolling at the bottom of your screen where you can contact Heart for the Community Initiative. We are available. As you see right there, Princess Frenchie has provided the Facebook page for Central Justice Initiative. And Ms. Michelle is the executive director of Central Virginia Justice Initiative. Mr. Andre Powell is the creative director for Amped Up Studios. And he has also provided some information for us to get in contact with Amped Up Studios. There it is right there. And also for the organization that is active in his church, Journey to Destiny Ministries. There's no competition amongst us. We're moving in the same direction, trying to help the same people. And if you have a question or you want to get involved, please use this information that is being provided to get involved. Thank you, Princess. She says, if you're being trafficked right now, there is help. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888 373-7888. You are not alone. I want to ask this question. If people want to get involved, let's say churches or certain organizations, they want to be safe havens for people who are trying to come in off of the street. Do either one of you have any expertise as to how that works?
Well, I can make a couple of suggestions. I'm not. I would probably say that if a church is really interested in human trafficking and serving the community, or serving specifically trafficking victims, you know, one, know what you're getting into. Um, and they can actually contact us. There's certainly assistance that's needed, but human trafficking victims are not, there's they have a lot of needs, and so immediate needs may be shelter. There are human trafficking shelters out there. There aren't a lot of beds in the United States, but there are certainly some in Virginia. But there's limited. But not every human trafficking victim will actually do well in a human trafficking shelter, and there are a number of reasons for that. Um, because of the lack of trust that I've spoken about before, the possible mental health challenges that the person may face, complex PTSD, um, uh, you know, uh, um, drug addiction. Um, Many times, and we work with people coming straight off the street. It's going to be they're sometimes a challenge to work with, and there have been human trafficking shelters in the United States and even in Virginia who have shut down because they didn't want it, for one reason, for a number of reasons, but one of which was they didn't really understand um, the the people that they're going to be working with. You have to meet them where they are. And so I like to think of the Samaritan woman at the well. Jesus went way out of his way to meet her where she was, and you have to meet them where they are. That can be a very difficult place. And so, if a church is thinking, oh, we'll just open up our doors and we'll let them stay, at here or there or whatever, we'll have them. We always get church members who say, well, I have an extra bedroom. We could have one stay there. I wouldn't recommend it because the person could be under threat. We've had a number of cases where we've worked with law enforcement and we've had to move somebody a couple of times. So there could be danger. If you're dealing with somebody who is detoxing or has an untreated mental health disorder, there could be dangers that could be faced. And also, if you're not trained in how to work with a person like that, you could also say things that could re-traumatize them or traumatize them more. So I would say that a church who wants to help by providing resources, they can, in this area, they can get in contact with us. We can work through with them training, but also talk to them about what's a realistic thing that they can do. Fortunately, we have organizations like MICA, that we've worked with before, and other organizations in this area that can help to provide services as well. But there are a vast number of needs for victims of human trafficking, and you really have to know what you're getting into if you want to serve that population. In the state of Virginia, we don't have, requirements. We do a lot of training ourselves with other organizations to make sure that Anybody who is coming in contact with a victim or a survivor of human trafficking is well trained, and we've worked with other organizations within Virginia. So I think what we do is fairly similar to others, because you don't want to do harm, you don't want to re-traumatize someone, you don't want to do harm. You want to provide that support. You want to meet them where they are, not where you are. And that's something that the we've been to the state legislature requesting mandatory training for law enforcement, for healthcare workers, for others who may serve this clientele, and um, it can sometimes be a struggle, but there's a reason for it. It's because of the clientele and what they've been through when they're interacting with you. There's many times that lack of trust, but if you've got all these other things going on as well, it can make them very difficult to work with. I've been called, you know, all the names you could possibly, and you just have to let it go. It's not them talking, right? It's the mental health, it's the drug addiction, it's the trauma. Um, and so you just have to be willing to let it go.
Let me ask you a quick question, Michelle. If people go to the Central Justice Initiative, Central Virginia Justice Initiative webpage or Facebook page, is there available training? We know that you offer training. Is there a list of available training classes and the ability for people to sign up for those classes?
Actually, if you send me an email, which you can go in the contact, I'll um, I'll I'll communicate with you, and we'll find something that is appropriate for um, what your intention is. We have general training that we do, and then we have training for different things depending upon what your level of involvement is. Um, there's some really good organizations out there that do training, but again, if they're training for something that you're not really going to be doing, then you might want to go in a different direction. So, but if they send me an email, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction.
Wonderful. Andre, I want to ask you the same question. When it comes to Journey to Destiny Ministries and Amped Up Studios, get to you guys that will get them in line to get training?
So, one of the beautiful things about Journey to Destiny Ministries, they are a faith-based organization, as Michelle has mentioned about Central Virginia, and they just finished a field missionary conference this weekend, where ultimately they went through what it would take to be involved as far as a missionary on site, working with these victims daily. This training was for those that would be housed at these journey centers where they're being put up. And for that training piece, that getting the understanding, getting the knowledge is often available. It's just a matter of your level of involvement. I wanted to piggyback off of what Michelle was saying earlier. If a church really wants to be involved, they're not alone in this, right? They're not alone, and they don't have to do it themselves. There are organizations that have already laid the groundwork for training, for that coverage, for that security that is needed for the victims, for that their reviews, weekly reviews, are just kind of hearing where they are, where they're standing. And so don't feel like you have to put up a shelter or a shop when there are already people that have those things available. And so pour your resources into them. If you find someone that is trusted, um, some of the organizations that are doing exactly what they're saying that they're doing, they are there. They have the facilities already there. Pool your funds coming together. I think that's going to be something that is very key to everybody that is involved, that wants to be involved. It has to be a united front. Why recreate the wheel when we can fund the wheel that's already in process and improve that wheel? That's just kind of my thought process with what Michelle was saying earlier. Just get involved with those things that are already out there. And if you want to really get involved and you want to be on the grounds and running and so forth, then there are certain levels, there are certain organizations that are literally on the ground every day. And I know for Journey to Destiny Ministries, they are in the weeds with the girls every single day. And so for them, it's get training, get understanding, see what they're dealing with. You're not on, and even they don't set them up to be alone, even in those situations. So it is a village. It is a united front. It is all those things that are needed. We are not in this alone. The victims aren't in it alone. Neither are we when it comes to getting the information that is needed. And the organizations are there. They're in place. We just need to, okay, we don't have to do everything ourselves. Let's get in there and help one another.
Wonderful. I thank God for both of you. We're going to begin to wrap this up. I do want to give you one more chance in case there's anything that we missed, and I'll start with you, Michelle. Maybe there's something that you wanted to bring to the audience attention. Maybe something we did not hit, something you can leave the audience with so that they can be involved. And just so you know, audience, while they're talking, I'm putting so much information on the screen. If you're missing any of it, you can go to the Heart for the Community Initiative YouTube channel, or you can go to the Heart for the Community Initiative Facebook page. You can see all of these comments and you can get these links so that you can contact the various organizations. Michelle, is there anything that we may have missed that you want to bring forth?
I think to just piggyback on what Andre said is we aren't in this alone, and I guarantee you there are more of people like us who want to see an end to human trafficking than there are human traffickers out there. And so it's a matter of, we're playing catch up. There are many things that we can do, legislatively. There's certainly some, and the Virginia Coalition Against Human Trafficking is an organization that we actually, they're a 501c4, we're a 501c3. We don't lobby, but we actually provide them feedback on kind of what's working, what's not working, some of the needs that we have. And the Virginia Coalition Against Human Trafficking, you can probably Google them. They're always looking for someone to call their, to be willing to volunteer to call their local legislators to talk about proposed legislation. Probably the only other thing is that, there's, I'm looking forward to the event in July.
Yes.
I think there's a lot that we can do, and we'll be working in the coming months on prevention is going to be key to ending human trafficking, because if if you don't prevent it, you're always playing catch up. And online is expanding pretty significantly. There's there was a statistics in 2014. I'm sorry, 2017. I was just looking at this. Sorry. 50 to 90% of trafficking victims that were in a study from Child Welfare Information Gateway were involved in the child welfare system. So it's not just prevention with kids that are in the families that are watching this, or even in our churches. We have to be looking out for those kids who maybe are in situations where they're in and out of the child welfare system, they're in insecure homes. And certainly I think that's a place where many of us, whether or not it's churches or where we need to play a part in making sure that those young people are are safe and protected. Um, and because if not, if they're vulnerable, they're going to be easy pickings for a human trafficker.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate all that you have offered this evening. Brother Andre, how about you? Is anything that we may have missed, something that you can bring to the forefront so that people can know how to get involved?
So I would I would challenge you all to find an organization that you can get involved with sooner than later. And some of the statistics that I was reading, 700,000 people a year find themselves victim, but only 7,000 are rescued. It's a huge number, and it's one of those that we can help prevent by
Can you
being
repeat that
educated.
number again? Can you please repeat that number again?
So 700,000 people find themselves victim to human trafficking and modern day slavery, but only 7,000 roughly are rescued. We have an opportunity now to make a difference, to step up in the gap for others where people have they felt alone, and some of them have entered into the situation thinking that there was hope in this. But we know the hope. We know Christ. We have resources. There are organizations that we can get involved with. And so my challenge to all of you is, if you're watching this, get involved sooner than later. Let get an understanding of what this is, what this pandemic looks like, and how you can be involved, your level of involvement. Learn all you can. Share with those, share with your politicians, share with your bosses, because some of the things that are going on, if companies would get involved in prevention. I know there are a number of hotel in the hotel industries that their social responsibility is focused around human trafficking. If we can get into the areas where it is being made so easily and readily available, it can make all the difference in the world. And so support those organizations that are changing lives, that are attempting to rescue people that are being victimized around the world, locally as well as around the world. This isn't just something that's happening in the United States. And help us break through some of this red tape throughout the United States of setting up organizations and things that are truly helping. There are a few here that are doing something locally, but there is so much tape to get around for some of these other things that are trying to be done and accomplished. Um, speak up. Speak up for those that are lost. Speak up for those that just need an opportunity to change life and move further on in hope. And for me, my heart is with Journey to Destiny Ministries all day, every day, because I've seen firsthand what they are doing. They have a psychologist on staff daily to talk with the girls, to be around some of these survivors of this atrocity. And they have doctors available. They have the field missionaries that are available, speaking life in as they're going to school, and the sponsors are being available. That's how some of the organizations get their funds. They need sponsors. You're trying to find ways to get involved, sponsor a girl, sponsor some of the projects that they're working on. Make the change. Stop just talking about it and do something about it.
Amen. I want to let you all know, Brother Andre Powell, as I said, he's doing double duty here, triple duty, because he's representing a couple different organizations, Amped Up Studios, Journey to Destiny Ministries, and also Heart for the Community Initiative. If you go to the Heart for the Community Initiative page, and that I'm putting that link right at the bottom of your page now, and this link is in the comments. Okay, if you go there, you can register for the July 22nd event. You'll be registering through an Eventbrite. Brother Powell, he created that, and so we thank God for him. What you see when you go to the page that was created by Brother Elder Andre Powell, and get his title right now. But he's done tremendous work behind the scenes. You can register. I'm not sure if Central Virginia Justice Initiative has a registration link for that particular event. But if you want to register, please use the link that is in the comments. I'm going to make sure that that link is also on the YouTube channel for Heart for the Community Initiative. It is definitely on my Facebook page. So my Facebook page is going to have a lot of these links. I will make sure that it's on the Heart for the Community Initiative Facebook page. You can register for our July 22nd event. We're going to bring some resources together that's going to educate you, and you're going to be able to get involved. You do not have to wait until the 22nd of July. You do not have to wait. You can donate now. Matter of fact, I'm going to put some information at the bottom of your screen right now. That way you can donate through Heart for the Community Initiative. You can go to the Central Virginia Justice Initiative. You can donate there. You can go to Amped Up Studios. You can donate there. You can go to what's the name of this other organization? Let me get it right now. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Journey to Destiny Ministries. All right. Listen to what Princess put up here. Micah 6 and 8. He has shown you, old man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. We have a responsibility for people who are outside of our norm, people who are outside of our culture, who may be outside of our immediate families and immediate communities. God would have it that we would be brothers and sisters to each other. Remember what he said, that which you did to the least of these, you did also unto me. But he told the other side that you did not do for the least of these, you didn't do it for me. I want to be on the right side. I want to be with the sheep, right? When he says that which you did for them, you did also unto me. And Princess, thank you for that link. That is for the eventbrite.com, the Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Seminar tickets. Uh, I believe she put that link in the Facebook page of Heart for the Community Initiative. I will make sure. We've held you long enough. I want to say thank you to the audience for your participation. I want to encourage you to please share this particular broadcast. Get it to as many people as you can. Don't worry. Having too many folks bothering us is a good problem. We'll sort it out. All right. Spread the word. Heart for the Community. We're going to do a little ad. We'll spend a little money to get the word out. And some information is coming. Keep your eyes open. Thank God for you. Sister Michele, do you mind closing us out in prayer?
Okay, sure. Um, Lord, you are a great and glorious God, and we just thank you for bringing us all here um, together this evening. Um, Lord, we pray that um, our discussion tonight, we know that it will bear fruit. Um, Lord, we pray for those who are being trafficked this evening, that you might um, show them a way out of their situation, or bring the resources to them that will pull them out of the resources, but be with them, hold them close to you. Lord, pray for um, we pray for your church. We pray that you might bring guidance on what the church can do to um, help those that are in need, and those that are being trafficked. Lord, we also pray for the traffickers themselves, that they may come to know you and um, stop stop doing these evil deeds. We also pray that those who are buying will do the same, that they will come to know you, that they will um, um, ask for redemption,
Yes.
and come into um, um, your church. Lord, we lift up everyone here this evening, and we pray for blessings. And we ask all these things in your Son Jesus' name.
Yes.
Amen.
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 All right, ministry leaders, pastors, community leaders, we're looking unto you to help us. You have great influence, you have a wonderful contact list, and we're looking for you to join in with us to help spread the word. Until next time, please stay tuned. Central Virginia Justice Initiative. Amped Up Studios. Let me get this other one here because I can't remember the name. Journey to Destiny Ministries and Heart for the Community Initiative. If you reach out to one of these organizations, you're going to get some information that will help you to help us when it comes to human trafficking awareness and prevention. Until next time, may God bless you and may heaven smile upon you. Bye bye.